Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys Football. We're continuing to take a look at some of the bigger games in the week one slate as we are inside of a week. For week one of the college football season, it was an awesome week zero. Some of these games, week one, are absolutely awesome, for lack of a better word. And it's a game that's getting slept on, and two teams, quite frankly, who are being slept on throughout the national media are the Houston Cougars and the UTSA Roadrunners. Obviously, group of five level teams not getting enough respect that they deserve, especially these two teams. The Houston Cougars and the UTSA Roadrunners beat Power 5 teams last year, flashed some unreal talent on both sides of the ball, and both of them put out some really good NFL draft picks in 2022. Before we get into it, again, guys, I just wanted to say thank you for all the support you guys have shown the channel. It's just so fun talking to all you guys, whether you're a group of five team, whether you're a Power 5 team, fans from any team in the comment section. I'm learning a lot about your guys' teams. I love talking ball, love making picks. We love talking the NFL draft. So if you guys do like the content, consider subscribing. We really appreciate it. Let's start talking some football. And I'm going to start with the Houston Cougars because I do think this team has the potential to be really special. If you guys checked out our summer preview of the Houston Cougars, I put a lot of time reading about this team, reading the spring camp notes, reading the fall camp notes, looking at games from last year. And this Houston Cougars team is legit. And it was a team that I was wrong about in January as I picked them to lose against Auburn last year in the bowl game. Got a lot of heat from the Cougars fans in the comment section, and rightfully so. I thought Auburn was a team that was just too physical, just too talented to lose against the Cougars. And quite frankly, this Houston team, I was just sleeping on how talented and how physical they actually are. They have some legitimate playmakers on both sides of the ball. And we're going to start on the offense just because of the potential I think this offense has to be one of the best offenses in the country. And it starts with Clayton Tune, a guy that isn't going to be a top 10 NFL draft pick, not getting a ton of NFL draft buzz. But in terms of one of the, looking at some of the best quarterbacks over the last couple of years, Clayton Tune's one of those guys. He moves the ball. It's not always pretty. He can pick it up with his legs. He's very accurate. He can do what this offense needs him to do to move the football down the field. And quite frankly, if you're asking me to pick who's going to be a solid QB2 at the next level, Clayton Tune is one of those guys that can pick up a playbook and go make it happen on the field. And yeah, it won't always be pretty, but he's going to get the job done. He's shown he can do that at the University of Houston. You look at who he's throwing the ball to. I mean, I talked about Clayton Tune maybe being one of the better group of five quarterbacks in the country, if not the best. Tank Dell's one of the best wide receivers in the whole country. You could throw the Power 5 teams in there. Again, not a guy that's getting as much draft buzz as I think he should be. Maybe because of his weight. I mean, he is really, really small. But in terms of being a human joystick and in terms of creating separation, creating big plays, running after the catch, I mean, he checks all those boxes. He is a very, very hard guy to tackle. And Clayton Tune in this Houston Cougars offense is going to be looking to get him the ball in space, get him the ball vertically. He can do it all. And he's a guy that I think can be a difference maker in this game when we're going to get to our picks, which, by the way, it absolutely pains me because I love both these teams. I don't really want to pick against either of these teams. But I really do think that a guy like Tank Dell can be kind of a difference maker. I look at UTSA secondary, Tariq Woolen, gone. I don't know if there's a DB in that locker room that can cover Tank Dell. I don't know if there's many DBs, period, that can cover Tank Dell, especially when you look at UTSA, who does lose a lot of production on the defensive side of the ball. They keep a lot of guys on offense. But on the defense side of the ball, I don't know if they can cover these guys on Houston. You look at what Dana Holgerson's done. He's done a lot of good things with this depth chart, kind of taking the SMU route and saying, reaching out to these guys at Oklahoma and Texas saying, oh, you can't get enough playing time at those schools. Come to Houston. We're a damn good football program. You're going to play a lot of football, and you're going to be productive. That's what Sonny Dykes and SMU did when he was there at SMU, and I think that's kind of what the University of Houston Cougars are doing. You get a guy like Cody Jackson, a former top 150 recruit at the wide receiver position. Matthew Golden, one of the better recruits that they've pulled in the last couple of years as a true freshman. Some really talented guys that Clayton Tune is going to be throwing to. Tyler Johnson, one of the better recruits in the country during his class, comes over from Texas. I think he can add, if anything, some depth to this program. Then the running back position, obviously losing RB1 to, I believe it was an ACL. He's out for the season. You go get Brandon Campbell through the transfer portal, a guy from USC who's another four-star recruit that will be able to make some noise. You have a guy like Deshaun Henry who played a lot, played at a high level for Houston last year. Am I concerned about the running back room? Not really, because you look at how Houston moved the ball last year. It wasn't because of the running backs. And that's no disrespect to a guy like Alton McCaskill, who is a very good running back. But that's not necessarily what Houston was trying to do. I think this offense is going to be just fine. And that's really what I think the difference is in this game. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about UTSA because, again, this was one of the teams I was really high on last year. And it's a team that I'm very high on this year as well. And it starts with Frank Harris, a guy that, quite frankly, neither of these teams get enough respect in the national media. But Frank Harris especially, in the sense that, he's just a runner. He's just an athlete who can throw the ball. I disagree. You look at his numbers. He's very efficient, threw for over 3,000 yards last year. He can throw from the pocket. And yes, he is an athlete with game-breaking athleticism in open space, but he's a guy that also can facilitate the ball. And you look at some of those wide receivers, guys like Josh Seifert, Zachary Franklin, DeCorian Clark, those guys are really, really damn good. And it's an offense that I think can be just as explosive as the University of Houston. You do lose Sincere McCormick, who was kind of what UTSA wanted to do. They wanted to run the ball. Sincere McCormick was an absolute workhorse for years at UTSA. You go get a guy like Traylon Smith, who was very good at Arkansas, kind of got phased out. I don't think you're downgrading as much as people like to think you are. Sincere McCormick, very good running back. Traylon Smith's also very good. You check him out at Arkansas against SEC-level defenders. And he's a very capable running back that I think will make a lot of noise for UTSA. Now, what I think it really comes down to is I don't know if UTSA will be able to outscore the Cougars. If you're asking me, I think both offenses are very good. I think Houston's defense is a little bit better than UTSA. Again, you look at UTSA, they lost some guys to the NFL draft. I'm concerned about, can that secondary cover guys like Tank Dell? You look at their numbers last year, passing defense, they were 105th nationally. I mean, you played Western Kentucky twice, which doesn't help. But I worry that UTSA won't be able to cover some of those athletes on the University of Houston, like guys like Cody Jackson, Tank Dell. That's where I think this game probably gets decided. And I also think University of Houston, when you look at their defense and some of the playmakers they have, that was one of the more impressive units that I was kind of sleeping on. I thought Auburn would be able to run the ball on Houston. They have some really good guys up front. You take a look, Derrick Parish, who's an absolute freak, one of the strongest players in college football. Really like his game a lot, D'Anthony Jones. I'm going to mess up his name. Chidozie Nkwanku, number 10. I was really impressed with him kind of in summer scouting. They got some good backers. You lose a guy like Marcus Jones, who was one of my gems in the NFL draft. He's a guy that was a game breaker in the return game, but he's also a damn good cornerback. I mean, 5 interceptions, 13 pass breakups. He's a guy that elite short area quickness. He's a really sticky guy. He's going to be lost, but I feel better about Houston and who they have coming back as opposed to UTSA on defense. At the end of the day, and I hate to do it, I'm going with Houston to cover 4 points. This line has bounced around a little bit. At one point, it was 6.5, 7. I don't think it ever got up to 7, but it was definitely pushing 7. If it got to 7, I probably wouldn't be pulling the trigger. But inside of a touchdown, I do think there will be a lot of points scored. There will be a lot of drives. Not too concerned. I think if Houston wins this game, they will be able to cover 4 points just because there's going to be a lot of points scored for both teams. And I think at the end of the day, Houston is going to be able to just outscore a team like UTSA. I think Houston is going to be able to get enough stops on defense. Both teams are going to score. I just think Houston is going to score more in a shootout. I'm taking Houston again. It really does pain me to bet against UTSA, a team that I loved last year, and quite frankly, I love this year. You get a change at the offensive coordinator spot. I like what they did in promoting within because that offense was so good. You want to kind of keep that rhythm. Bear Looney was very good. How's it going to look with those offensive coordinators? I'm not sure. I'm taking Houston to cover 4 points. It's not a game that I'm absolutely hammering like I was Illinois, but I do really like the Cougars to cover 4 points. That'll do it for a game preview. Again, let us know in the comments section what you guys think. This is a game that I honestly, if I get enough comments telling me about UTSA and what you guys think, this could be a flip. I'm not super confident in this game, but if I was given a pick, it would be the Cougars to cover 4 points. Appreciate you guys as usual. Thank you for watching. We'll talk to y'all later.